So yeah, this pilot. This was months before 9/11. This pilot episode of The Lone Gunman shows criminal elements of the United States government planning to take down the World Trade Center with airplanes, and that the airplanes were being controlled from the ground, and that they were going to blame it on the Muslims. So I'm thinking, how does Hollywood know what's going to happen before our own government when the president specifically said, nobody in our government knew? I mean, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I mean, if you go back and
Wait a minute. Nobody in your government knew that this was going to happen?
Hold up. Wait a minute. What a way to start. Party people, welcome to the Why Is Conspiracy video edition. Shout out to everybody who's gotten to enjoy the pilot episode that we put out as audio. A little technical difficulties there, but we wanted you guys to hear some of that conversation. And I think it's going to go over very well, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But here, today, we got the visuals going. Everything should be tip-top condition. I got my boys in the house right now. Hazel's in the building. Angie's in the building. Shout out to her. So it is FinallyTV, the Why Is Conspiracy. Here we talk about it all. Illuminati, aliens, conspiracies of all sorts and shapes and sizes.
Why is conspiracy?
Yeah, exactly. Why is conspiracy, right? Why is there conspiracy? So, without further ado, you already know who I am, but to my left, I have my man Grillz. Say what's up, sir.
What's up, brother? I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Of course, of course. And then to my right, I got none other than the man Monsta himself. What's good?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You got mad quiet right there. Thank you for having me. He's the loudest person in every room, and he says that's how he enjoys himself. Thank you for having me. All right.
Glad to be here.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
I'm happy to
be. Drop some knowledge.
Yeah,
right.
Man. I think what this podcast is all about is just kind of being informational, enlightenment, maybe change up your perspective, maybe give people out there the, I guess, the assurance that there's other people out there that think just like them, right? You're not alone type of deal. So let's talk about it, man. We have a few things that we could talk about today. One of the episodes that we were gonna unload on everybody was a good discussion about psychedelic drugs and things of that nature. I think we're just gonna talk about that for about 5 minutes, a quick little recap on what we were talking about. I'll let Grillz lead the way because he had a lot to say about psychedelics, but just in a nutshell, Grillz, give them your thoughts as to what did that mean to you when we said we're gonna talk about psychedelics and the conspiracy there within, and you know how you think things went down. Give us the quick synopsis.
Well, I think that psychedelics tie into conspiracies because I think there is a conspiracy around psychedelics being not just illegal, but kind of like kept hidden and not really introduced to people the way I feel like it should be. And I think the conspiracy is, well, what is a conspiracy? It's when a group of people get together and they plot in secrecy against somebody else. And that can mean so many different things. So many different things can be a conspiracy. But I think as far as psychedelics, yeah, there is a conspiracy because I believe that when you do psychedelics, it opens your mind to another world or like a hidden dimension that operates around us. And that's what I think the world actually operates on, is an occult hidden dimension that banks, corporations, and businesses, politics, religion, entertainment, it all operates on an occult level. And I think that once you do psychedelics, you're able to kind of see into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of like where we went with that conversation, just that, you know, kind of understanding your existence more or less a little bit more when you're going through those portals. And we talked about the gland. What's the name of the gland?
The pineal gland.
The pineal gland, right? That's a joke. It's an inside joke for anybody who didn't hear the pilot number 2.
That's right.
But that whole situation, Monster, your take on that, what would you?
Well, my take on it was to build off of what Professor Grillz was saying over there.
Thank you.
Is that, of course, the opening of your mind is the reason why these drugs are illegal. And why they continue to be illegal to this day. I mean, there's a movement right now in the United States to legalize marijuana. That's occurred in several states now, but just now there's a movement underway to legalize some psychedelics for medicinal uses and for actually recreational uses. But that hasn't been a thought pattern for a long, long time, and this stuff's been suppressed because of what Grillz was saying, is that it opens your mind and it leads you down a different path that necessarily institutions like the government, and not just the United States government. I mean, this is all over the world. Psilocybin mushrooms weren't discovered in the United States. So it's.
And when you say mushroom, you say mushroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. I mean, they're
all
not
those common
exclusive
folk
to
out
growing.
there.
They're not exclusive to growing in cow pastures in Florida.
Right.
I mean.
Right, but they say that is one of the perks, right? The temperature's just right,
That's what
and
they say.
you know what I mean.
Allegedly.
That's interesting. So anyway, so my whole thing with that was it was kind of like a hybrid of what you guys were saying, and the other side of that I thought was a great point, if I could toot my own horn, was that it was interesting to me, like in history, how early most people were exposed to psychedelic drugs. You ended up taking them for the first time basically in your adolescence.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You touched on that also.
You know what I mean? I thought that was a real interesting point of view and a topic to touch on, because it's like, the mature brain and the adolescent brain, they're going to interpret things very differently.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And usually your first impression of something is one you're going to hold on to. So to me, when you're a kid and you're introduced to it and you take it, it becomes just a game, a fun thing, something I can abuse and get high on.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of disregard the enlightenment part of it, saying, oh yeah, because I'm tripping, that's why, you know what I mean?
But do people really abuse psychedelic drugs though? I mean,
yeah. I know people who say I tripped, at least 2 or 3 times a week at school.
Yeah, but I mean, did they continue to abuse them? No, I mean, Jerry Garcia was world famous when he dipped into his heroin habit. I was saying that he wished he had stuck with psychedelics, because you take them a few times, they kind of freak you out, and then you don't want to take it again.
It takes a toll. It takes a toll on you too. It's not something that It's not like marijuana we could use often. It's something that you kind of do, and then your body doesn't crave it as well.
Right.
And then it's not like your body's addicted to it. It can definitely be used in 2 different ways. It can be used for like fun, entertainment. Oh, that's cool. Wow, do you see that?
Light shows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, adolescent, just having fun. Or it can open up your mind to something. You'll have thoughts that you never thought of before. You'll see something a different way, or you'll pick up on something. So I think it's a little bit of both.
I had touched on that also when we were talking about it the last time, where there was a difference between Timothy Leary, who was from our area, and the merry pranksters who drove across the country in the bus further and gave LSD to anybody who wanted to have it, and went to concerts and spread the joy of it. But they actually came to Millbrook, it's world famous, to visit Timothy Leary, and he wouldn't see them. Mm-hmm. He let them wait for an entire week, and finally they just left New York because they realized at that point that he wasn't going to co-sign what they were doing, and that really opened up the minds and hearts of a whole generation. It led to the Vietnam War protests. It led to a lot of things in this country that still reverberate to this day that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. But I mean, just think about the arts and the music and everything else that the onslaught of psychedelic drugs from the late 60s into the early 70s brought. I mean, and even I would argue in the early 2000s with the resurgence of ecstasy and MDMA and the dance party movement that sprung from that. I mean, same thing. It started opening up people's minds. All of a sudden, you started having rappers like Prodigy talk about the Illuminati and different things like that, and that also brought an influx of this. And also that was brought on from doing drugs also. I mean, let's be honest about it,
Right. It's interesting stuff to talk about, right? This the way certain drugs get introduced to the mainstream, right? That's always been a point of contention, because the conspiracists are going to say the government introduced all that. You got the whole movement where they say that one administrator, is it Reagan? They felt like that administration is the one that introduced crack.
Right.
So,
well, that's the thing. There's not just a conspiracy with psychedelics.
Think it's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy with the drugs in general, all drugs.
Yeah.
The war on drugs is a conspiracy in itself. And the reason why is because the same people that are telling us that we need to stop using and abusing drugs are the same people that if you link certain connections and you follow the money, these are the same people that are pushing it. They're putting it out there. Because we have all the technology in the world. If they want to catch every single person that is actually selling this hardcore stuff, they can. They can. The reason why they don't, and the reason why they allow so much crime is because how else are the courts going to get paid? How else are the judges going to get paid, right?
Right. And it's a form of again, population control. Which
Definitely.
In the pilot episode, I'm big on. I think if you look at everything that happens in the world, right, and just come from the perspective of there's too many people on the planet, we need to come up with a plan to try to get ahead of this. You will see what I'm saying when I say a lot of this stuff is population control driven.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Coronavirus.
Just gonna say
You
the
know what I'm
same
saying?
exact thing.
You know.
Let's be honest.
Grillz is showing me, things in text, in like textbooks. You know what I mean? Written many, 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 many moons ago.
Right.
Talking about an epidemic flu-like thing is gonna take the Earth by storm in 2020. What? You know what I mean?
So what's happening now in the world has been predicted. The reason why it's been predicted is not because these people are necessarily seeing the future. It's just they're able to see the signs and the symbols, and they're able to put two and two together, and they're able to understand the language that is being told right now. Like the world is like a big play. So we have something very serious going on right now. And I think that people in the past have written about it, have spoken about it because they are hip to it. And this is why so many cartoons predict so many things that actually happen. It's not because the creator of The Simpsons knows more than we do about the government. No, it's not that he's a time traveler. No, it's because he's got inside information. It's not that, he's just seeing all this stuff. He's seeing the future and putting in these cartoons. What I think has happened is that people from the inside work on a lot of movies and cartoons and television, and they have a say in certain things that happen. So I think somebody specifically putting events they know are going to happen in the cartoons and in the movies. And this is what I was saying before. There was a pilot episode of The Lone Gunman that came out months before 9/11. And in the episode, it was about criminal elements of the United States government taking over planes, hijacking planes, and taking down the World Trade Center. This was months before 9/11. And that they were going to blame it on the Muslims. Now, who in Hollywood knows more about our own country and our government than our own government? Because George Bush specifically said, nobody in our government knew. Right? So if nobody in your government knew, but Hollywood knows, there's a problem there. So off the bat, there's a problem. There's something wrong. There's a conspiracy. The problem is that people really want to believe that life is kind of simple and they can kind of go about their business and nothing's going to happen to them. The problem is that we are undergoing something that is very serious right now, and I think that the implications are so out there and so right in front of your face. They're slapping us in the face, and what can we do about it? I think the more that we open our minds and the more we talk about it and the more we address these things, because if anybody we know does something deplorable or something, devastating, something that's just out of character, people are going to talk about it. Somebody goes to jail, everybody posts it on Facebook. But these people are in control of our lives. So I think that when it comes to the presidents and the government, we need to take a second look at what these people are doing, because the implications that the implications is that these events, whether they're school shootings or whether they're terrorism, I think they're being planned. I think we're being fooled.
Well, one thing I know that we're big on is people doing their own research, here. So I would implore people to what Grillz said, to go back to actual footage of 9/11, to when they came and whispered into George Bush's ear and told him that the buildings had a plane fly into them. He doesn't react really at all. He sits there. He's reading a book to children. And you would think if somebody just told you that the United States is under attack and you knew nothing about it, you're springing up out of your chair, you're mad, you're reacting in some way, shape, or form other than, okay, his reaction is basically, okay, now it's time to start the play.
I also thought it was interesting that when he was there with the children, they were reading something, and they were reading like specific words. They were saying like plane, hit, steal, I'm thinking, what is that? What is up with that? Something weird's going on there. There's something very weird going on. Very trippy.
The whole 9/11 thing, we can do an entire show about that alone.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, and if we're going to talk about that, we should probably have all the facts together.
Yeah,
first, because it's a very sensitive topic for some people, especially in New York. I mean, you know, there's people who know loved ones who have perished, and it's a difficult thing to talk about. But at this point in time, it's something that should be talked about in the grand context of what is happening in the world, because the world didn't end in 2012 with the Mayan calendar.
Right.
So now we have to live with the rest of this, and it ain't going that well. So
it's interesting. I mean, I personally feel that the 9/11 thing's been beat like a dead horse over and over and over. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's very important to. It's important because of the implications.
Yeah, no, I get it.
If there is a conspiracy with 9/11, then that opens up the bag to everything else. It has to be a conspiracy. Because why would they just have one operation? Why would they just have one event? Right? No, I think this is all.
Well, it was multiple events that day.
Right. Definitely. Well, this is this is stuff that they had an Illuminati card game that came out in the early 90s, and two of the cards, one of them was two towers getting blown up, and one of them was the Pentagon getting blown up. They're part of the Illuminati cards.
Yeah, I think those are the low-hanging fruit type of things when you look at the U.S. as a target.
Somebody knows what's going to happen on a mass scale before it happens, so they'll put it out there to see who's picking up on it.
Well, and we talked about that in the first episode about the symbols and how they love to foreshadow and to communicate with one another that something may happen, or what happened here isn't exactly what it seems. Because if you see the number 33, for example, or other symbols in connection with something, that's a clear sign that they're sending signals to their other members of their organizations.
Right.
I mean, once you're hip to this stuff and start seeing it, you can't turn it off. It doesn't go away. I mean, you cannot believe anything that we say. Research it for yourself, and once you start seeing it, the pattern happens over and over and over again, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. These people own the businesses. They pay us. I don't want to say they control us, because they don't necessarily control us, but people only know what they want. You know, I mean, and this is the television and radio and other influences. It's not a joke anymore. So we're either going to figure this out, or they're going to wrap their tentacles around us and we're going to drown.
I think that's a good direction to go with this conversation, is to talk about the current event, and right now it's in everybody's faces all day. It's the coronavirus, and might I say there are some very funny memes when it comes to coronavirus, especially the one with the Corona bottle in the fridge by himself, and all the other condiments are on the other side.
Well, that's the thing for me, because I feel like anytime you have something where there's loss of life, it's really not funny. It's not a joke. So it's like,
there you go.
To me, it's not funny, and the only reason why I say that is because I understand, but it's hard because everything's funny now. So everything's a joke now. So I get it. Like I'm not
right.
That much
everything can be made into a meme, and you're 100% right.
You know, but I do think that nowadays is when something serious happens, instead of addressing it, and instead of really taking it on full forward, now what we do is everybody's afraid, so they want to be like, they want to come. It's like it's security blanket. So it's like they want to wrap the security blanket, but I think he said it. It's like a wet blanket. I think that when you address it and when you say, wow, there's something going on, and you have that, you do have that care. This lack of empathy and the lack of emotion towards these things, shows that, we're losing our humanity. I feel like a little bit, and everybody's guilty of it. And I think that as far as the coronavirus, well, corona, isn't that another word for the sun? Right? It's like sun rays, right? That's definitely manipulated as well. That didn't come from an animal. No. That didn't come from a bat. No. And when you got people that are highly invested into vaccines,
right?
These people need this. You think the same guys that are making vaccines aren't making diseases? People need to understand that there's big money in
coronavirus,
and vaccinations, and in healthcare.
And that's where I want to go with it. So let's talk about coronavirus a little bit, right? Here's the facts as I know them to be, right? And we can all look these things up, right? Pause this right now and go look.
coronavirus basically attacks the lungs, right? It's a bronchial thing, right? Symptoms can be super mild, sniffles, right?
Dry cough.
Right. Symptoms can be severe where the coughing doesn't stop and you feel short of breath. That's what the coronavirus is right now, right? And it's
highly contagious, obviously.
No. It is
know.
not as contagious or as efficient as the flu. And that's a fact.
I don't know about that.
It's true. Look it up. They're going to look it up right now. You know
Well,
what I
when
mean?
you say that, what do you base that on?
It's not as efficient of a transfer
Well,
thing
currently
as
the
flu.
mortality rate for the coronavirus is 3.4%, and the flu is 0.02. So, but
Right.
as far as
That, you're talking about mortality rate. I'm talking about people
and as
getting
far
it.
as what you're saying, I mean, the
If it
guy
if
who
it
drove
if
the
it could
dude to
spread
the
like the
hospital
if it could
got
spread like the flu and the common cold, we all be dead. Well, a good portion of us be dead.
Well, I
You know
would
what I mean?
say give it some time, man. I mean,
It's-
this is just outbreaking right now, so
Right, and you also have to consider, and I guess that's all of us, is that even if you watched the news last night and you were told a fact about it, that fact could change today. You could have woke up and they said, "Oh, we thought yesterday it was this, but
well,
it's
that
really."
did happen yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, Cuomo, our governor, was on basically the news saying, that there are people getting sick from it. 80% are recovering.
Right.
Nobody needs to panic.
Right.
By the 5 o'clock news, he had declared a state of emergency.
Yeah.
So,
And let's
I
talk
mean,
about
I'm
that
not really
state.
Sure because
Let's talk about that state of emergency.
Well, I want to back up a little bit because I mean I know that people are screaming saying that that there shouldn't be a concern,
Mhm.
but this is the way I look at it. This is not new. Ronald Reagan did the same thing when the AIDS epidemic happened. He was running around screaming, "It's not true. It's not. This is false." Blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Well, yeah.
39 million people have died
Yeah.
from AIDS since then.
Yeah.
So, and there still isn't a cure.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I think
some would argue that there is.
Almost like time will tell to see
Well,
where
there's
this
PrEP.
coronavirus goes.
I mean, there's PrEP, but there isn't a outright cure
Right.
for, I mean, there's no way to stop somebody from getting it if they have sex with somebody who, has it, But my point being is that if there wasn't education at the time about how it's transmitted by a sexually transmitted disease and how they educated folks about that, then it would have transmitted more. And I think that's what this push kind of is right now. It's twofold.
I think it's
in
a
my
cover up.
opinion.
I think it's a cover up.
I agree.
I think it's a cover up to kill people. To be honest,
Part of
I think
it-
it's a cover up to kill people.
Part of it
Blame it on the
is
virus
that, and
and-
it's also intended to dent the economy, as far as I'm
Because
concerned.
a couple decades. Here's the thing: couple thousand Chinese people die. I've seen people say, "Oh, I don't care. It's not happening to me. It's not happening here." And I think that's horrible because, I think this is a cover up. Straight up, I think it's just a way for them to take out some Chinese people and blame it on a virus.
Well, the
and
part
scare-
that I find
scare
very
everybody else.
fascinating is that high-level members of the Iranian government have died from this, and they're under sanctions, which means that goods are not coming in and out of that country.
Somebody could have
So
wanted them
how
out,
exactly
man. What
did
a
that
perfect,
happen?
what a perfect way.
They say it's transmitted with money.
Also-
So
Yeah.
Also, we have to say, because we try to stay informed here. I do realize that it's really it's only killing people that are elderly or had underlying health conditions.
that is the current state, yes.
You know what
At
I'm
a
saying?
3.4% mortality.
So the 80, right? And for the 80% of people that get it and it just goes away, God bless you. I'm glad that happened.
But that's what we're being told. Supposedly, there's a lot of people from China that are coming forward trying to tell us what's really going on there, and they're being censored. So something is going on. I think.
Yeah,
people need to take
and
it
that's
serious.
interesting how China will shut down their public and just
Yeah.
like, yo, you're not talking about this.
No, we live in an interesting
Well,
world.
the first thing that really kind of blew my mind was that a lot of people think, okay, Wuhan, China, it's some, there's rickety huts and this, that, and the third, and that's how this happened.
Sure.
Because they spread the word that, they're eating this bat soup, and that's what caused this.
Right.
Except for the fact that Wuhan, China is a bigger city than New York City, with 11 million people in it, with these ginormous skyscrapers and everything where people are on lockdown.
Right.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like Grillz just said, you have an authoritarian government that you can't trust a damn thing that they're saying, and they censor the internet and everything else. So somebody could have posted the truth on there. They wiped it out in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
They literally use video cameras and monitor every one of their citizens, they have a system that they use where they give a score to every person to see what their threat level is. This is no joke. This is like,
Now, what if this is coming to America?
it's here.
With all the security, all the cameras that are up now,
It's already here.
everybody show your ID. Everybody, I think we're
I mean, in our state right now, we have to go to the microchip enhanced license
Yeah.
by October, or
Yeah.
you can't go into a government building, you can't fly on a plane.
Right.
And so when I upgraded mine, I said to the girl, I said, "Well, I don't understand. You know, I have the passport." I go, "What is it really? Why do I have to upgrade?" She goes, "Because you don't carry your passport around with you everywhere you go in the United States."
and they need to track you.
Right.
What's the
So-
whole because the currency of the future is digital. Obviously,
Yep.
It's not paper money. So eventually, paper money is going to be like in the Fallout video game. It's going to be pre-war money. I believe that we're living in a world where the RFID chip is now being introduced to us, and that now we can, you'll be able to open a door, open your car door with your hand, and swipe your hand everywhere, and everything will be on this chip. But the problem is that who's controlling the chip? Who's watching the chip? Like who can turn your chip off?
Right. That's
Right,
the
what
thing.
else
It
is
can
this
be
chip-
manipulated by
Right, and what
someone
else is this chip doing to
remotely.
your body? You're putting a microchip into your body, and somebody to a database linked up where another human is controlling it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
No,
And-
I'll date. And when
I
you
would never be microchipped.
Yeah. The way you lay it down, nobody would agree
But-
with
but
that.
how would-
It's like chipping your dog.
now, how are they going to get all of us to do it? Because almost
Okay, I'm
everybody
going to
I see-
explain it.
Yep.
They're going to make you get it in your license so that you have to carry it everywhere you go.
They just-
There you go.
Bingo.
Yeah.
They
And
don't
that's
have to
exactly
put it,
what
They don't
happened.
have to put it in you. They can. Right.
That's why.
Yeah.
Because if you remember us growing up, that was the thing we heard about. Oh, animals can be microchipped, and that's a thing. And,
Right.
humans are going to get microchipped. Human babies are going to start, and there was a backlash. But, if you saw polls, people were like, 98%, hell no, I'm not getting a microchip in me.
Right.
So then they're like, all right, how do we work around this? Everybody carries a license, and so therefore put the microchips in the license. So how do we mandate that? Federal government can't go on a plane, can't come in a building, can't get services unless you have these things. I mean,
Would you be shocked if you found out for like the last 10 years they've been injecting a chip into every baby born?
no, not at all.
I wouldn't be.
Why do you think rich people don't have kids in hospitals? For that exact reason.
I wouldn't be surprised, but that's why I'm very against all of this, because I don't stand for any of it. None of the bullshit, politics, religion, entertainment, none of it.
Mhm.
I don't support any of it, or any of them. And the reason why is because I think there is something going on. Absolutely, 100%. You get this Jeffrey Epstein guy
Mhm.
abusing children, with connections to high-level people in politics and in entertainment, and nobody cares. It's just, he didn't do it. He didn't kill himself. He didn't kill himself. Now it's a joke. It's a meme. But he's, this is a fall guy for something that's really going on right now. You got satanic ritual abuse, pedophilia, child abuse in our government and in entertainment, in Hollywood. This is sick. This is fucked up.
Yep.
So these people need to be brought to justice, because they're so hardcore on the minorities in this country, yet the people that are running this country are pulling the strings. They're calling the shots. They decide who lives, who dies. They decide who goes to jail, right? And they protect real criminals that are abusing children, women, children, and there's a mind control of the masses right now, where we are being manipulated with our food, with the media, with vaccines, shots. So there's a huge agenda against the human mind, to break the human mind, to break the human heart, because the earth is the heart. So if they can that's why all the songs now are about heartbreaks. Everybody's sad and depressed, and all the movies, it attacks your heart. There's always those moments that you're just like, you're getting a
Tugging
strong
on the
emotion.
heartstrings, they call it.
Everything is to tug on the heart right now. It's to break our heart, because once these parasites that are at the top of the pyramid, once they break the human heart as a collective, they got us. They got us. So I think that what we have to do is keep our hearts strong.
What does that mean, though? When you say they got us, what is that? Got us what?
Well, because what's happening is I think that there's an agenda from the powers that be behind the scenes that are not human, and they want a global government. This is something. It's a slow burn. It takes a long time to happen. It takes hundreds of years.
The New World Order.
The New World Order, the dawn of a new day, right? And what it is it's a complete control over everybody on the planet. And this is where the microchips come in. This is where a lot of things come in, because this is we are living in a very important time in human history, where we are leaving the old world of Americans being free and all these different other cultures and nations and all these different skin colors and races. It's beautiful. It's amazing. When you look at the world as a whole, and you look at everybody on the planet as a whole, all of us together, it's amazing. All of the animals and all of the wildlife, it's amazing. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get rid of almost everything, and everything that will be left will be highly controlled. They're creating a new man, right? And it's a transhumanism agenda, because they want the new man to be like male and female, right? So there's a huge attack right now on the males to get to take away the strong males. Because if you take away the strong males, they can't protect the women, and they can't. And the planet's Mother Earth.
Have you noticed that there's more? How do I say this without everybody hating me right now?
This is a very tough topic to talk about.
Yeah,
honestly.
have you
People
guys
get upset.
noticed?
They're gonna
Have
get
you guys
upset.
noticed that there's more sexually curious young boys now than ever before?
Yes, and it's absolutely. It's very tough to talk about this because it's absolutely true. There is a movement to
Like they're feminizing.
That's exactly the word I was going to use. Is feminize.
They're feminizing the male, and it's not an attack on transgender
great
people.
topic.
It's not an attack on transgender people. People have
No,
been gay,
that's not
bisexual,
what I'm saying. That's not what I'm
transgender
talking
for
about.
Hundreds of years.
Right.
It's an attack on everybody. So they're being attacked as well.
This
And
is
they'll
the,
be-
this
right,
is the
so
conversation that Alex Jones.
They'll be used.
They're the result of the attack.
Right. They'll be used to to further
It's a
agendas.
great,
but,
interesting thought, because I have noticed so much in the last 6-7 years that, like, there's a lot of feminine qualityed young males around schools, malls.
Well, the argument is that it's moving towards a homogenous sort of idea. One being, one world, one
Right.
everything.
Right. That's
everything's
right.
one. That
Right.
there's
To that
no
point. To that
separation.
point. In what do you call the doctors that just see kids?
Pediatricians.
Right,
Yes.
pediatrician, right? In this, I'm not gonna name his name because he didn't ask to be talked about. This guy I know brought his daughter to the pediatrician, and they're sitting in the waiting room, right? And they had the male and female, like, chart up, and under it they had the different symbols for male and female, right? But this chart had like 9 different symbols, and it was like buy this or curious that, or both male and female, like, it had. So the little girl turned to her dad and was like, yo, which one am I? And he was like, this one, this top one right here that says female. He's like, that's you, And she was like, but what's all the other ones? And he's like, that's when I had no answers. I didn't know what to say to my daughter who's looking at this chart, and I felt for him because I'm like, damn, I don't have kids, you know what I mean?
Well, that's where I would step in, and I would give him the chart back and say thank you, but no thank you, because the child's too young.
This
to know
hanging on
about-
the wall, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I
children, in my opinion, children are too young, because I have a child now. So in my opinion, children are too, at that age, from especially from birth to teenage age, it's too young to be talking about sexuality
yeah.
to a child, because their mind is not fully developed yet
Right.
to
They're just
comprehend
learning
that.
what
They don't even know. They don't even.
They're learning what everything feels like still.
They don't even
You know?
comprehend basic ideals and idealistics that we have
Mm-hmm.
as far as politics and religion. Now you going into sexuality, that's a little more sensitive, especially for females.
Mhm.
So if a child has an identity issue, and feels like they identify with a different race or a different sex, right? Which happens, right? You know, that's an issue that is amongst the family. I don't believe that defines a person. I don't believe that what somebody does behind closed doors, as long as you're not abusing children and you're not abusing somebody, I don't feel like it's anybody's business. I don't feel like you have to define yourself based off of your actions behind closed doors and privacy. I feel like people are people. We need to respect each other regardless of sexual preferences and race and religion. I feel like we're losing that, so we need that. And I definitely think that there is an agenda to change the human beings, right? And there's been people, like I said, there's been people gay and transgender forever. But if you're pushing it onto young kids now, wait a minute. Now they want people at a young age, getting.
They want them to identify themselves. It's
about putting labels, right? It's about labels.
It's all about labels. It's weird, like why you would want such a young soul and mind to identify with something.
It's the same thing with religion and politics.
You know what I mean? Like, why is there an 8-year-old kid, who's on camera talking about, I was born a boy, but I really just relate to girls more.
Well, that probably has more to do with their parents trying to make money off of YouTube than.
Isn't that sad?
Probably.
It is sad, but I mean.
That's sad. You're ruining this kid.
It's to what we were just talking about. To me, I think it also depends on what your actual belief system is, and we had talked before about the Anunnaki and the origins of some of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And some of this
always comes back to
some of this may be a lot deeper than we think, because maybe the Anunnaki weren't male and female. Maybe they were one being, and that we're just working our way back to the origins of which we came.
Right.
Because if you think about it, what's always said, we're created in our Creator's likeness. That's something that's in like every religion. Mm-hmm. So I mean, my idea, but there is that and you touched on this before, is with the population control, is that our population has exploded. Mm-hmm. Maybe because I am a firm believer that they are still here, that they guide our lives still because they're immortal, and that maybe now's our time to move back towards being one being. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not making a judgment on that
everything
at all.
You say about
but that could be a potential idea behind what is driving this.
The one being, the hermaphrodite, it goes back to, you could liken it back to Genesis and the whole immaculate conception of this whole thing, right? If Mary was both a male and female, there wasn't anything immaculate about it.
I think that's the thing. When it comes to the Bible, I think that there's
not that I want to touch on the Bible right now. Pause. We gotta get another episode. No, pause. Pause. Okay. We'll give them that on another episode. Right. That's gonna send us down the rabbit hole.
The code, the encoded.
All right, but we talked a lot last time too about the pineal gland.
Pineal gland.
I like saying pineal, like, because it sounds like Ferdinand, like
there you go.
The roast pork. But the pineal gland, and how they introduced fluoride into the water, which actually calcified the gland itself and made it not work as efficiently or at all.
And still do. It's in everything.
It's in everything.
And people say to me all the time that they look at the label and they say, well, I don't see it listed on there. Well, that's because it's in the water.
Right.
That's listed there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. You have to get the breakdown of the water at that point.
And the water has the fluoride in it.
Right.
Calcifies.
Right.
It's ugly.
I think the people are starting to get, between the pilot episode and our discussions today, they're starting to see like where we're going with this stuff. As the weeks go on, we might be encouraging the fan base and the viewership to contribute. Debate what you hear, retort what you're hearing if you like, agree with it, but do it in the comments below, so that we'll have something to talk about on next episodes. If you guys want us to attack a subject and just see, what our temperature is on something, put it in the comments below. We're going to be watching that stuff. We're definitely planning to, engage the audience, whether it's, the three of us or 3 of us and 2 of you guys. We're going to build it together and grow out from there, one by one. We'll get it going. But so, contribute. If you want something talked about, say it. If you disagree with something, say it. Post links of things. Whatever you want to do, let's do it. We're down to debate.
and really get it popping. But the Why Is Conspiracy podcast is here. Hopefully it'll be a continued thing throughout time. I think we're all kind of just feeling it out right now. Shout out to everybody who's supposed to be a part of this. At one point or another, I'm sure we'll have some guests up here on the show, but it looks like there's going to be 3 co-hosts for the show right now. And like I said, maybe we'll like Skype in people or, phone call people in and invite guests in that way. Who knows, maybe we'll do something off of Facebook and make it like a real live event one time. I think that'd be pretty cool for us. Maybe we do like a live event from Scratch Lounge. We got some big ideas around here. So
That's right.
So in recap, we just talked about some psychedelic stuff, right? We talked about some population control. What else did we talk about? We talked about 9/11 a little bit. Yep.
Transhumanism.
Transhumanism, exactly. And we talked about
the need for research.
And we talked about the coronavirus.
And the coronavirus.
Right. So right. I think one of the best things about this show is going to separate it from other shows that might be talking about stuff like this is that we're encouraging you to debate us, debunk us, or back us up. Whichever one of the 3 you want to do, or if you just want to sit and just watch it, that's fine too. But we are engaging that crowd. So go look at this stuff for yourself. It doesn't really do you any good if you just listen to us talk about it and then you just throw it out and keep walking. If something intrigued you, go follow up on it, because we're only talking about it because we've read up on it. We know a little something about it. Especially in these 2 cases here. With me, I'm more of direct. I don't read all that much, but I'm paying attention, and my intuition, I feel, is through the roof. So I have good insight on things, so when they bring things to the table, I'm able to argue it back, you know what I mean? And maybe give the old blue collar, I didn't go to college point of view, you know what I'm saying? So these guys, they read so much, they might as well be college graduates, So with that said,
Grillz, you got any last thoughts you want to get out there for the
really the second episode, really the third, but second episode that everybody's going to see, first one that they're actually going to put their eyes on?
Well, I do encourage people to do their own research, but I don't think there's anything to debate at all. Look at the world around us. Look at the world around us. There's so many things going on that have, happened. So I think that, why is there a conspiracy? Well, because there is some serious people that rule the world. You got specific families that own 90% of everything. All of the corporations, all of the entertainment, the media. These people own everything. I mean, even religion is a money-making machine. Organized crime in religion. And that's a topic for another day. Obviously, the Bible, but I think the Bible has a lot of astrology in it. I think most of it is astrology. When you're talking about the Virgin Mary, you're talking about the constellation Virgo. Before that's what the point I was trying to make. So I think there's a lot of astrology in the Bible, coded messages, and I think that's everywhere. Everything is coded. So I encourage people to definitely take a second look at all this stuff and some of the topics I brought up earlier to definitely look at.
Yeah, for me, before I forget, because I will forget because that's just how I am. One of the really interesting topics we got on, we kind of brushed on it in one of the first 2 pilot episodes, was the whole idea of words being a spell.
Correct.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I love that topic. You know what I mean? So we're definitely gonna get into that. I'm probably gonna read up on that actually a little bit myself, and then see what you guys have to say about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I think it is such a cool topic. And shout out to my man Jay Black out there. I gotta get Jay. I gotta get my man Jay involved in this. So shout out to you. We'll get you on here.
Chris Pullitz.
Yeah, Pullitz wants a piece of this. Remedy says she wants in. Buddha the Great. So there's some cool people that want to.
My brother Cheech for the cut.
Yeah.
Bo's Barbershop.
There you go. Easy Blade right here, out in Newburgh. Monster, anything you want to contribute or say?
Really, I just want to say, just build a little bit off of what Grillz had said there at the end, is that it's a very serious time, and one thing that he had touched on in our first episode, which he didn't really touch on today, is the need for unity and how it's really, we're all in this together, man. You know, and we had talked about in that first episode how there's, right wing and left wing, but they both belong to the same bird.
Same eagle,
and that same thing is pooping in our face with
That's
them sharp claws coming for us.
That's
and, You know, we're all in this together against these people that own everything. So it's better to remember that and go out and continue to just research. And if you don't believe something, look it up for yourself. You have a smartphone. You know, I mean, in all seriousness, it's not a joke. You know, research it for yourself. Look at the alternative sites. Don't just go on page 1 of Google. Go to page 50. See what's on there. See what some of the other ideas are about. You know, that's what I encourage. Then come back and meet us here and debate us, you know, see what you think and tell us we're wrong, tell us we're right.
Yeah, there it is. So it is the Why Is Conspiracy show. We'll be back. If we get it the way we really want it, there might be an episode every week, but that might be a big thing. So it might be like a, you know, once every 2 to 3 week drop. But who knows? We'll see where it goes. You know what I mean? But stay tuned for the next episode. That should come back around in about 10 days or so. I'm sure we're going to get back together. So with that said, it is Grillz. It is Monsta. It is your boy Gabriel. FinallyTV. Why Is Conspiracy? We out. Peace.